We live in a binge culture. Now that binge culture is going to decide automatically whether they trust you or they don't trust you, whether they're going to give you credibility or they're not going to deem you credible. Your marketing message, right, and your branding message to an escrow agent will be different than to a mortgage broker or to a real estate agent or to a general notary population. So the foundations of marketing. All right. This one kind of throws a lot of people off sometimes when I talk to them about it. If you were to look in the dictionary, or you were to look at any random YouTube video, you're going to see a different meaning to marketing and maybe even the branding, right? So the real definition, in my opinion, for marketing is just fighting for attention. That's it. No more, no less. You're marketing, you're fighting for attention, okay? Now, branding is how you deliver that knockout punch during that fight, all right? And I'll give you a small example. So think about this, Super Bowl. Companies don't buy Super Bowl ads because they think that in 15 to 30 seconds, they're gonna convince millions of viewers to buy their product. They pay for those Super Bowl ads so that they can continue building their brand and pushing their brand to those audiences in the hopes for future sales because of the brand. All right. The marketing itself is just part one, and that's just fighting for the attention. Your brand is what's going to actually deliver that knockout punch. Now, with the personal brand, I want to kind of emphasize why it's pretty important. And by personal brand, I'm talking about what people see of you. Okay, not you personally with your family, etc. I'm talking about what the world, the public sees of you, your personal / professional brand. Okay, even if you're older, I'm not just talking about the new generation of kids. We live in a binge culture. When somebody hears about you, somebody catches wind of you, somebody's about to meet you and they know it and they have your name or a few little credentials, they will research you and they will Google you and they will try to find you on LinkedIn, and they will try to find you on Facebook, and they'll try to find you on Instagram, etc. And if you have videos or photos and posts, articles, etc., those individuals are going to binge watch, binge read, and binge listen, I guess, for a long time, for hours maybe, right? I can guarantee you that you listening right now, as soon as you saw this free event and you saw who was hosting it, etc., you tried to do some research on me, on John, on the group. It's natural, it happens. But we live in a binge culture. And everything that you post online, everything that you do creates a trail. And that trail can be viewed until you take it down, or in theory, forever once it has the internet's web caught with it, right? Now that binge culture is gonna decide automatically whether they trust you or they don't trust you, whether they're gonna give you credibility or they're not gonna deem you credible. And on the flip side, it also kind of a positive manner, because if you do it right, especially with the online side, you can develop that trust and credibility a lot faster than it would take in person, right? In person, you need a little bit of time, you need a little bit of face-to-face, so on and so forth, for that familiarization to happen. But online, people feel like they can connect to you even though they've never met you and even though they've never talked to you, just based off of your videos, your vlogs, right? Your selfie little perspective posts that you're doing. All that is taken into consideration. Okay, so that's why personal brand and your professional brand is very, very important. We have a saying in military recruiting. We say, when we have our target audience think about the military, we want them to think about the Army. When they think about the Army, we want them to think about our recruiting station. When they think about our recruiting station, we want them to think about me, right, as the individual recruiter. So if you parallel that to the notary world, the loan signing world, if you work predominantly with, say, signing services, you want the title company, when they think of, having to have a loan package closed, you want them to think the loan signing service. And when the loan signing service thinks about having a package closed in your area, you want them to think about you. If you take out the signing service and you're going direct, whenever the title office escrow, etc., is thinking about closing a deal or somebody from your area of operations, you want them to automatically think about you. And that's the goal of this personal branding and marketing on this side. Now, how we do this? We do this by defining ourselves and our objectives, our brand, by designing the look of our brand, and by delivering the purpose that we feel our brand is supposed to represent. Defining has, I mean, it's so important, the defining piece. If you look in the workbook, you'll see, I think most of it is dedicated to the defining piece, right? You want to kind of define your objective. You want to define where you want to be personally, professionally, right? 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That long-term goal will help with defining the small milestones that you want to try to hit and reassess, from point A to point B to point C as you go along. Think about defining what you want from your personal brand, or from your professional brand, your professionally personal brand. Are you trying to get more direct loans? Are you trying to do more general notary work? What are you trying to accomplish by doing this brand? You want to define your target audience. Who are they? What are they into? What do they want? Who influences them? On the target audience piece. So going back to my original story with my mentor from the military, telling me that I had, branding issues and marketing issues. So the goal is to get the right message to the right people at the right time. If you don't know who your target audience is, who your target market is, you're going to miss that 100% of the time. So what I was doing in my era with the military recruiting side was I was targeting 17 to 24-year-olds, right? And then sometimes more specifically, 17 to 21-year-olds. Now, I was talking to them about stuff that I thought was important, and I wasn't talking to them about stuff they thought was important. So I lost them. I was talking to 17-year-olds. Imagine this. I was talking to 17-year-olds about insurance and about retirement, about those type of things that 17-year-olds don't care. They don't care about that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I may have been able to capture their attention with tuition assistance, maybe. But at the end of the day, they're 17, 18, 19, 20. They don't know anything about insurance. They don't know anything about retirement goals and plans and 401ks and stock markets and that kind of stuff, right? So every time I would open my mouth to talk about those things that I knew was important because I'm already older, I lost them. And I wasn't able to sell them because of that. My message to them should have been more about what they wanted to know about. The action, the adventure, those kind of things. The hey, get it while you're young kind of stuff. Same concept in the notary world. When you're defining your branding, you're defining who your audience is, you want to be as specific as possible. So if you're working through the workbook, right, answer those questions as honestly as you can. No one's going to be checking your homework. It's all on you. But you want to define your audience as best as possible, because that'll help you dictate what your message is going to be. Your marketing message, right, and your branding message to an escrow agent will be different than to a mortgage broker or to a real estate agent or to a general notary population. So the more that you can define those key sets of target audience or personas, the easier time you're going to have when it comes to figuring out what you got to do, what you got to say, etc. So you also want to define yourself professionally. Are you going to be focusing on a specific niche? Are you going to be focusing on a few niches? What are your core skills? Although, and you want to be honest about this. Not everybody was meant for administrative tasks, right? Not everybody was meant for loan signing documents and all that. People will naturally miss signatures. They will naturally miss keywords, et cetera, because their mind isn't geared that way. And that's okay. But it's important that you recognize it. That way you can adapt and change it and build on it and improve it. And you also want to identify the core skills that you have that may not come natural to other people. For example, like I said earlier, I'm an introvert. I naturally don't like talking to people. Kind of a sticky situation when you're an Army recruiter, right? But over the years, I've learned to change that, and it's done wonders for me, as you saw in the very beginning. So the point is that it can change. It might just take some work, but it can change. But at the same time, I get very meticulous with paperwork. So where the talking to people, understanding the message piece, the right message, right time, to the right people kind of stuff was harder for me and more of an adjustment and easy for others. On the flip side, the paperwork side, doing the contracts, doing all that kind of stuff was easier for me and harder for others. So you just want to make sure that you define your core strengths and whether or not you're going to be digging down into a niche and how far. Okay. You also kind of want to find out what you do better. What do you do better than everybody else? Are you always on time? Do you always go through everything with a fine-tooth comb? Are you faster than the average person? I don't know. Like it's whatever you feel that you do better. You want to identify that. And then you want to identify your unique selling proposition. All right. This is your unique selling point. What makes you special? What do you do differently? In a recent example for what we're doing here, what I do differently in the marketing world is I take it from a different perspective. I take it from a person-to-person and branding perspective through the eyes of an Army recruiter. I don't do the, hey, well, the foundations of marketing is X, Y, Z, and that's not what I do. I do things differently. And because I do things differently, I get the results that I've gotten. So what do you do differently in terms of the notary industry, right? And if you're new to the notary industry, that's okay. That's great. You're starting fresh. You have a blank slate, a good foundation. You can draw up whatever blueprints you want, but you definitely want to identify something that you really do naturally better than everybody else, or you do differently, or you attack differently. Okay. I don't know what that is for you. I'd be happy to work with you and talk to you about what you think that is, and we can kind of mold and massage it. At the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, don't get caught up as you're reading the workbook. Don't get caught up answering these questions. If you get stuck on something, that's okay. Keep pushing through, go back to it later, and it'll start revealing itself to you, okay? And then finally, you want to define your personal brand with a statement. Something, I don't want to say an elevator speech, but something concise and to the point. So if you have your workbook, go to page 17. Page 17 kind of helps walk you through some of the steps to get to define your personal statement, your branding statement. All right, page 16 kind of gives you the instructions. Page 17 has the little paper where you can actually fill it out and whatnot. Now, if you go to page 18, I gave you a little example for the industry side, for the notary side. All right, but some key principles on this statement. You want to avoid any kind of confusing jargon or marketing type words or $5 words, $10 words, right? Saying, I'm the executive marketing director of info. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody needs to know that, right? You're making them think too much. Your target audience is not. Unless your target audience is a CEO that knows what you're talking about, it's not going to matter. You want to keep it simple. Layman's terms. It's people to people. We're just people. The more you let that sink in, the easier everything's going to be with this. Okay. But you want to define your goal for your personal brand with the statement. And you want to start off with I am, and then you put in your description, who is, and you talk about your personality or your unique selling proposition, and helps people, and provide whatever solution that you think you're providing, so that, and then give out the professional benefit that your brand statement is giving. And so the example that I have for you is, my goal is to earn more residential loan signings. So my target audience are escrow officers, title companies, and lenders. So an example of a brand statement would be, I am a notary loan signing agent who is passionate, timely, and meticulous, and helps people close their residential loans so that every signing is a positive experience. You see how those keywords kind of popped in there and help to guide the statement. Now, I am, insert your information, who is, insert that piece, and helps people, insert that piece, and then so that, and then insert the final piece of that sentence. Do that a few times, play around with it, and see what feels comfortable. And that's what's going to be your personal brand statement. And then start using that over and over. All right. For the design side, the look and feel of your brand, right? The color schemes, your photos, etc. Now, really think about this one, okay? If you have, knowing that we're in a binge culture, like we talked about earlier, if you don't have a website and you don't have a business card, you don't have a flyer, etc., that's okay. Now, if you did have a website and you did have a flyer and you did have a business card, that's okay too. But guess what? They're still going to cyber stalk you. They're still going to social stalk you on your social channels, whether it's professional or personal. Okay, I promise you that. An escrow officer looking for a notary that they don't know, but is looking directly for a notary in that area because for whatever reason they don't have one in that area yet, and they come across you on Google My Business or business card that you dropped off or whatever the case may be, they're not just stopping there. They're not taking your word for it on the business card or on what you say about yourself on Google My Business. They want to know who you are. And just like hiring days of the old, they're going to try to find you on LinkedIn. They're going to try to find you on Facebook, etc. So if your photo, your profile photo on your personal Facebook account, in your personal Facebook profile is not, it doesn't have to be professional, but it can't be immature, and it can't be something that that would look bad on you if somebody who is trying to hire you found it. So a lot of people don't know on Facebook, make your stuff public or private, and a lot of people still have it as public and they don't know about it. But keep that peace in mind, right? I see so many notaries when I do little searches and whatnot that have a semi-presentable, Google My Business or professional Facebook account or something like that. But then I will find their personal one, and it's just binge drinking, or it's partying, and it's like, that's not. I don't need. If I was going to hire a loan signing agent, I don't want to feel like they might go out partying the night before and not make it to the signing the next day. So all of that takes into consideration. So when you're looking at designing the look and feel of your brand, you want to really hone in on that. Take some good photos. Take some photos in attire that you're going to be more than likely showing up to a signing at. Right? You don't have to be in a 3-piece suit or a big business suit or anything like that. Males, females, etc. But you do have to be presentable. You do have to be professional. And if you've visited local title offices, etc., you can kind of get a feel for what their vibe is and go based off of that. But it definitely can't be, t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops. It definitely can't be taking your third shot on the second Friday of every month or something. So keep that piece in mind. And then delivering. You want to be able to deliver your purpose behind your brand, and then you want to audit yourself through the whole process. All right, the auditing and assessment is going to be continuous throughout the whole thing. And if you're not delivering what your brand is saying, then there's a disconnect, and it's okay. It happens. It happens to everybody. It happens to me. But that's the whole purpose of auditing: checking yourself on Google, getting reviews, asking people, talking to people, how was my service, that kind of thing. And you want to constantly these 3 things, right, revolving around your brand to really get your brand on solid footing.